am really excited about today's Zoom call. We are going to be exploring an economic development and leisure trip opportunity to Ireland. And before we get into the details about the trip, I want to make sure that we provide a little bit of background about how we arrived here. And so I'm going to pitch this over to Ryan Vesey, our Director of Economic Development, and he's going to explain how this opportunity has arisen and how it got on our radar. Ryan, why don't you take it away?
Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for joining the meeting here. So Greater Mankato growth has Greater Mankato has a relatively strong presence of international businesses, but almost exclusively from Germany and Japan. So we attended Select USA for the first time since 2019 last year, with the goal of increasing that presence of international businesses. While we were at Select USA, we met the folks from Littus in Ireland, so Liz and Paul McGuire, and we realized that there's a lot of similarities between Minnesota and Ireland in terms of population size, in terms of labor force, in terms of Irish ancestry, which is the third most common in Minnesota, in shared businesses. So in southern Minnesota, we have Carry Ingredients and Bimeda. Medtronic is a big one in both Ireland and Minneapolis. And it really seemed like some untapped potential. And what we also discovered was a lot of businesses, whether from Ireland or other areas of the world, they didn't know where Minnesota was in the United States, far less Greater Mankato. So we knew we had to step up our game and make sure that we were in the game when these companies were looking for where they wanted to invest. So we brought Liz and Paul from Littus to Mankato last year so that they could better understand the region. And now we're looking at bringing a coalition of people from our region to Ireland to further some of these connections and establish more relationships. With that, I'll turn things over to Liz to talk about what the plans look like.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Della. Thank you, Jake, on helping and getting us organized for this morning. My name is Liz McGuire. One of the highlights of last year in attending Select USA was meeting Ryan and Jake there in DC, and we are looking forward to continuing that relationship this May when we're back in DC again. So it's fantastic to be here today virtually. I'm calling you from Dublin. The sun is still up miraculously in Ireland. That's called a grand stretch. We're no longer dark at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We're having a grand stretch in the evening. So I am sitting by a rarely sunny window, and I am excited to tell you a little bit about some of the plans that we have been working on to get you lovely folks hopefully over here and enjoying a grand stretch. But before I do, I'd also just like to mention something. Ryan and Jake joined me last week virtually for a presentation in County Kerry at an RDI innovation hub there with some businesses that are looking to enter the US as well. So we've had a great few touchstones in the last couple of months, particularly after that engagement at Select. And we're looking forward to continuing that with hopefully this visit to Ireland this September. So without further ado, I should say, can everybody see that for me?
Liz, we have it.
You have it now. Thank you. Ryan and I could pilot a plane. Would be great. We're coming down. So you're very welcome. So this is your presentation of an international economic development trip as proposed today in early February. So the reason I have this little map up here on the corner is that we have nominated 2 individual points for your visit. We've nominated County Sligo and Dublin City proper. Dublin City proper there is on the right-hand side, and Sligo would be there on the left. So this is just to give you a little bit of a situation about where, much like Ryan was saying, situating Greater Mankato within Minnesota. These are 2 of the communities that we have highlighted as not just fun to visit, but fun for business as well. So the travel dates for the proposed trip are to depart Minneapolis on September 13th, arriving in Dublin on the morning of September 14th. You would then have a wonderful time in Ireland, I'm sure, and you would be returning home on September 19th. So what we're going to do with today's presentation is tell you a little bit about what each of those days would possibly look like. But it's important to keep in mind that what we're going to cover today would be more of a menu of options. So while there's a lot of opportunity there, we're going to ask that you have an open mind, and when the time comes, if you're able to join us on the trip, we would create a more custom itinerary using some of the meetings and events that we have outlined here. So as I said, you leave Minneapolis the evening of the 13th, and you'd arrive in Dublin bright and early for 8:30 on the morning of the 14th via Aer Lingus. You would arrive to Dublin Airport, and then we will have a private coach hired to take everybody in the group out to Sligo, County Sligo. That's about a 3.5 hour drive, very comfortable. You'll be tired, so it'll be easy to plug in the headphones and fall asleep. You might not even need the headphones. Then we'll have you checking into your hotel in Sligo and ending your evening with a Yeats Society and local trad music event. So a little bit about those would be that your hotel is the beautiful Glass House Hotel in County Sligo. I've stayed there myself. It's very comfortable, very modern, and very accessible to the town center itself. And you'll be there for 2 nights. On your first night, you have the Yeats Society and local trad music. William Butler Yeats is a very famous Irish poet. He was from the Sligo area, so he is a huge deal, not just in Ireland, but in Sligo specifically. So we have arranged for the head of the Yeats Society to join us for the evening for some very light poetry reading of Yeats's work and a bit of the history of the area and why Yeats is so celebrated there. And then the evening culminates with a bit of local trad music, which is an abbreviation for traditional music. So traditional pub music, your first night in Ireland, is not a bad way to start a trip. Your next day, September 15th, we have a selection of local area tours as well as industry meetings, understanding that this is a combination of a tourism and a business trip. We want to make sure that there's a little bit of something for everyone. So we would have you starting your day with a hearty hotel breakfast, and then depending on where you would fall, either doing a local tour or perhaps some industry meetings before an evening of free dining. One of the opportunities that we have for guests would be to participate in a seaweed foraging tour with Dr. Radigan. She would then have a space at the National Surf Center there in the bottom. It's a world famous surf center. Sligo is actually famous for its surfing. If anybody wants to bring their boards, I don't challenge you. But she would lead the session. She would lead a forage and then a session about how to cook and work with native Irish seaweed in various different recipes and things like that. And it's been assured that it's a great evening or a great afternoon. We then have the sheepdog herding. I have to say that this one, whenever I mention this presentation, gets a lot of oohs and ahs. You have the opportunity to visit a local farm and experience sheep herding with an All-Ireland winner of sheep herding. And you can have the opportunity to get your picture with your sheep and your beautiful views and vistas and things like that. But it is a unique opportunity. And living in Ireland, I haven't done it yet, but I have put it on my list since putting together this presentation. It is on my bucket list for sure. Some of the industry meetings we can arrange for you are with areas such as the Sligo Local Enterprise Office. The Local Enterprise Office is every county in Ireland has one. They are supports for small businesses, and they are really, truly phenomenal. I was just having coffee with someone this morning who's starting a business in Dublin, and I was recommending to her the Dublin version of the LEO with various programs and supports and grants that they have for entrepreneurs. So it's a great and it's a natural connection to make when you're in the area for business, as well as the Sligo Chamber, who have a close relationship with the LEO. So for industry meetings, we would start with the local enterprise office and the Sligo Chamber. We would also look at doing a tour of the Sligo Atlantic Technical University, or the ATU, as well as 2 innovation spaces, the Advances in Manufacturing, or the AIM Center, and the Strand campus. The AIM Center is what it says in its name, Advances in Manufacturing. It's looking generally at how AI will revolutionize manufacturing. And it is also a co-working space for a number of small business and startups that are working out of the area, as well as the Strand campus, again, a co-working space and office space for their focus is in AI and gamification. Next, on the 16th, after you've had a lovely night's sleep and a delicious meal from one of the wonderful restaurants in Sligo, we will get you back on your coach and head you towards Dublin, where I live. So on your way, you're going to take a rest break, which I'll get into in a minute. And for anybody who's not attending on the rest break, we're going to send you to the plowing championships, which I'll also explain, which are generally sort of the linchpin to this plan, and why we chose the timing that we did. If you might be asking why we're talking about a September trip in February, the plowing championships are an opportunity not to be missed for anyone in ag who's interested in international relationships. So that's why we have them center of your itinerary. And then finally, you're checking into your Dublin hotel that evening. For those of you who are heading to Dublin, you're all going to be staying at the Herbert Park Hotel, which is a beautiful hotel. It's a 3-night stay here. This is your second and last hotel on the trip. And they are more than accommodating in a great location as well. For those of you heading to Dublin directly, you're going to take a rest break in Kilkenny. You're going to get to see your castle, Kilkenny Castle. It's a beautiful medieval town and medieval castle, a great leg stretch for on your way to Dublin, as well as, not mentioned here, but if any interest, the Smithwick's or Smithwick's Brewery is also in Kilkenny. So you'll have the time to explore Kilkenny properly, have a nice lunch, walk around, and get to do something on the 16th. You're not just going to be shuttled on the bus. Then for anybody who's heading to the plowing championships, we can talk about this at length. If you have any follow-up questions, I'm happy to. But the plowing championships are one of Ireland's, if not Ireland's, largest agricultural event. It's a phenomenal event that happens every year where en masse, they take over a county, basically, the individuals, and it would basically be along the lines of anyone involved in ag from a business to consumer or business to business standpoint. Our relationship with the plowing championships would be to go through an organization I'm going to identify later called Enterprise Ireland, which works on helping Irish and US businesses have a bilateral business flow. And Enterprise Ireland always sends a delegation to the plowing championships. So we would be looking to attend the plowing championships with Enterprise Ireland and visit spaces such as the Innovation Center and etc. So plowing championships, you have to, I'm in marketing, so you have to forgive their website because their website is horrific. But anybody who knows about agriculture in Ireland will tell you the plowing championships is a must attend. Finally, on the 17th and 18th, I have everything kind of combined here because I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the tourism aspects having to do with my beautiful town of Dublin, including some local area tours, as well as some industry meetings. So this is, again, just a broad overview, a menu, if you will, of what can be selected, but it will give you a taste of the opportunity for the visit. On the evening of September 17th, we're inviting you to an evening of Irish dance in Dublin City. This will be a meal for the group as well as entertainment. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I used to work with someone who was an Irish dancer that would do these various evenings, and he always described them as good crack. So if you haven't heard of the word, the Irish word of crack before, it's C-R-A-I-C. C-R-A-I-C, not perhaps the Americanization of it. Good crack means good fun. So if anybody in Ireland says, "Are you having good crack?" they mean, "Are you having good fun?" So this is hopefully you're going to have a trip full of good crack. Local area tours that you can participate. You can visit Trinity College Dublin and the Long Library. The Long Library is pictured there, famous for, it was actually reproduced in Star Wars as well as several other movies. You might recognize it from there. Generally, it's usually full of beautiful old books, but at the moment they are in part of a 5 to 10 year process of restoration. So while they have the books and they're cataloging them, they have put various art installations into the library instead. So it definitely is still open to visitors and a must see if you're visiting Ireland on this trip or ever generally. When you're in Dublin, you can either visit the Guinness Storehouse, which is a phenomenal experience. It's several floors. There's different elements of interactive museum experience in there. It's really, really worthwhile. If you do or don't drink Guinness, it's a historical milestone to one of the most sustained brands that came out of Ireland. So it's always, as a marketing person, it's a testament to the power of branding, as well as the Jameson Distillery. So the Jameson Distillery has a wonderful legacy and history to it as well. There's cocktail tours. There's a tour and experience where you can, see the ingredients and really get a quite literal taste for Jameson. But these are, again, 2 different experiences that would be available to visitors, as well as for a non-alcoholic option. We would recommend an afternoon tea. This is a beautiful afternoon tea that takes place in the center of the city as well. So this would be for someone who was looking for something, even though there's champagne pictured, for someone who's looking for something that might be a little lighter on the alcohol level, this is a nice option. Next, we would take you to your industry meeting. So the DAL is our head of government. So this would be an opportunity for the whole group to get a fantastic tour and learn a little bit about Irish politics and how it all works over here. We would then go to some industry meetings with support organizations. I mentioned Enterprise Ireland with regards to the ploughing championships. They're there up at the top, Enterprise Ireland, but we would also look to set up meetings with the Industrial Development Authority as well as Board BIA. And again, all of this information is very condensed and I'm kind of flipping through it today, but any questions you can direct to Ryan, Della, or myself. And we would be happy to elaborate why these building relationships with these organizations is important. In Dublin as well, we have opportunity to visit university entrepreneurship centers. So these are just 3 with Trinity College Dublin, University College Dublin, and TU Dublin. And these are really phenomenal spaces where I know when Paul and I visited Mankato in October, we met with several universities and heard about the innovations and the entrepreneurship coming out of the schools in your area. And this is a great opportunity for us to introduce you to some of those businesses here. Also with the idea to possibly collaborate and introduce the students from one ecosystem to another, whether virtually or with future missions. So it's, in our opinion, always great to connect the youth, and this is one of those ways that we would recommend doing that. And these are, much like we visited the AIM Center and the Strand Center in Sligo, these are innovation centers which are based in Dublin. The Dogpatch Labs and Further Innovation Space are 2 spaces where individuals can take co-working space as well as attend webinars and virtual events as well as networking events. Really, really phenomenal spaces. The Further space is also the headquarters of the SkillNet Innovation Exchange. So the SkillNet Innovation Exchange, while I don't have it on here directly, is a fascinating organization that developed in about the last 2 years, which matches SMEs, so small to medium enterprises of anyone under 10 to 1 to 10 employees with corporate clients. So what it does is it generally puts out a pitch event to a corporate with the likes of Google or LinkedIn. We'll say, you know, we're trying to solve a problem, but we don't have the in-house talent for it. They'll come up with a brief, and then SMEs through the SkillNet Exchange will pitch towards that. So the SkillNet Exchange is hosted out of Further, and would definitely, if that's something that you're interested in learning about, kind of building that bridge between entrepreneurship and the corporate world, is a great case study to look at and somewhere we could make introductions, absolutely. On September 18th, there would either be a breakfast or a lunch for Rita and GMG to present themselves to the region. This would be a great opportunity to sort of encapsulate why you're there, as well as speaking to the several touch points, as Ryan and I mentioned at the top of the hour, why we see the benefit in connecting Ireland and Greater Mankato, because there really are so many natural synergies that it is making more and more sense the more we look at this. And finally, you're going to end your tour like you started your tour. You're going to have dinner at the United Arts Club. This is a private members only arts club. And it was actually co-founded by Yeats. So W.B. Yeats, who you started your evening with a local music of trad and Yeats poetry, was one of the founding members. So this is a beautiful way for us to wrap up our trip, say farewell, and enjoy a delicious meal in the heart of Dublin. Then we'll have you on the 19th back on a coach to Dublin Airport, and you'll be flying home around 9:30 and landing safe and sound that evening. So the costing, we have costed it out to be individually $3,000 per individual, including economy class, shared accommodation, and meal coverage where stated. And if you have any questions about that, again, Ryan, Della, or myself are happy to help you out. And finally, the guys have asked me to include this timeline. So they're going to be circulating a survey to share your interest, which they would like responses for by February 7th, if possible. They're going to ask you to confirm your interest with GMG by March 31st. And I will hand it back over to Della and Ryan now, maybe to speak a little bit about the payment and this timeline process. But generally, these were just some key dates following today's presentation that we wanted to be sure that you had. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Liz. We appreciate that. So again, before I pitch it over to Ryan and then we would open it for questions, this is an exciting opportunity to join Greater Mankato Growth on our first ever international trip. Its focus is on economic development and expanding international connection and looking for opportunity to perhaps bring Ireland based businesses into our market and our region. But if we're going to go to Ireland, we really have to have a good time while we're there. And so I see Liz is chuckling. And so we really were purposeful about imagining how to make this a +1 trip. So there are components to this that are absolutely leisure in nature, that are for the whole group, and then by design, opportunities for a spouse or traveling companion to go off and do tourism, leisure things, while some of us are doing business meeting and business tours. We hope that you'll consider it. Our goal is to get a minimum of 16 people to go with us. 20 would even be better. And as far as the timing, we'll be conducting a survey so that we can gauge interest and better respond to questions or opportunities, or potentially make tweaks in the schedule for the week that we're looking at in September. Also, this is an opportunity to hear back on the timing and the cost. I think that the $3,000 per person, which is a double occupancy. So if folks have different things as far as traveling alone or wanting to upgrade their seat on the airplane, those kind of things can all be worked through, but we just wanted to give folks a baseline. And then as far as the timeline, this is international travel. And so we do have to have flights and other things booked and paid for well in advance. So that's why the end of May deadline, to make sure we know who our cohort is. With such a tight timeline, in all likelihood, folks will have to already have a passport. I'm not sure that there would be time to secure a passport if you don't already possess one. Ryan, is there anything you want to elaborate on regarding the economic development and education partnership opportunities on this trip before we open it up for questions?
The one thing that I'd like to have highlighted before we open it up for questions is why Sligo? I'm sure everyone on this call has probably heard of Dublin, but Sligo was chosen for a very specific reason. But I do think because it's Liz who brought the similarities between Greater Mankato and Sligo to our attention, I will ask Liz to highlight the why Sligo answer.
Sure. So we chose Sligo because of the similarity in size, in demographic, and in the general ethos and business structure. So one of the reasons that if you were joining us at the Rita dinner in October, we presented on Sligo, spoiler alert, we were testing the waters to kind of to see if people were interested in Sligo. We discussed the size of the region and in the idea of the Greater Mankato growth structure. Sligo itself, population wise, it's a blip on the map, right? So it's a great community, but it isn't necessarily going to be the next Manhattan or the next New York. So what that means for us is that they have done a fantastic job of working with their partner counties in promoting the area, which we saw as a similarity and an alignment with GMG as well. Generally because there is such a fixation and a fixture on collaboration, community uplift, FDI, as well as, it's coming to mind just sort of the very nature of the similarities between the Minnesota community. I told this story last week, and I won't mind telling it again when Ryan and Jake called into Kerry. I have lived in Ireland for the last, I think it's 7 years this summer. I have never wanted to go back to the States. I'm very happy I moved from the States to here. But when I visited Mankato, it was the first time where I'd ever thought, okay, maybe I could do this. And I remember saying to Paul, who's on the call, I was like, I really liked Mankato. And I don't think he'll mind me saying that he felt that my attraction to Mankato was the similarities to the Irish culture that it had. So I think that there's a lot of synergy between the two areas. And Ryan is so clever and probably has a bunch of statistics that will back all this up. But speaking from the heart, I think the best way to really see it is to feel it. And when you get here, I think you'll step off the plane just as I did into Minneapolis and then down into Mankato, and to realize, oh, okay, I see where this relationship is.
Thank you, Liz. And one thing that I've heard throughout some of the conversations with Ireland is it seems like there's a common refrain with folks who assist Irish businesses that I've heard a lot that being Irish will open a door in the United States, but it won't close a deal. And I think for the same things for us, having the similarities between us and Ireland can open a door, but actually going to Ireland and showing that level of interest will help us close the deals. So I do see a question in chat that came in right away. It's easy to answer. Does the $3,000 cost include flights? It does. It includes economy class seats. Folks, as Della mentioned, folks who would want to upgrade to business class or anything like that, if that's a desire, is something we'd need to look at price adjustments for.
And maybe just to elaborate further, so the $3,000 includes flights, accommodations, ground travel, the entertainment that was specifically identified. And I believe, Liz, correct me if I'm wrong, there might be breakfast included at the hotels. So there'll be a few meals that are on your own. And of course, pocket money for incidentals, or if you're wanting to bring back gifts or other mementos from the trip. But I would say 80–90% of the trip cost is covered in that $3,000 price.
I have another question on whether the price would double for a single occupant. It would not double. The bulk of the pricing, with the exception of the hotel rooms, is per person. So we would need to make an adjustment on the hotel costs for having a single occupant in that room, which we could follow up with people on what that adjustment would be. I don't have that offhand. And people are free to continue to leave any questions that they have in the chat here, as others have, or to unmute themselves and ask questions. I will share, we do have some folks in the meeting here that didn't register through Atlas, our website portal site. So I'll be following up with everyone who registered with a link to the recording and the survey, but I will drop it into chat right now. We are looking to get answers to this survey, which is incredibly short. It's 6 questions and none of them are required, that we'd like to see by Friday, because we do need to confirm that there's enough interest to hold this trip. So we want to see some of these answers quickly. I did see another question in chat. Can we repeat the start and end dates?
We sure
Liz,
can.
I'll quick turn that over to you.
Sure. So you would be flying on the 13th, arriving into Dublin on the 14th, and you would be returning home on the 19th of September. So those are the 13th to the 19th of September.
And then I had another question come in directly to me. Are we able to stay longer on our own and have a later return flight? Della, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would see no reason why not. But we are looking at group pricing on the flight, so we would need to communicate with Aer Lingus to confirm how that might change any cost structures associated with the flights back.
I'd
Correct.
be very happy
Yes.
if you wanted to stay longer. You'd be very welcome to stay as long as you like. I decided to move here. I met someone the other day. She was from Ohio and she was here for a trade event. And I said, when do you go back? And she said Thursday, and it was a Tuesday. And I said, so soon. And that's how I knew that I was meant to be here. But yeah, anybody who wants to stay longer, I fully recommend it. And if you trap me with a glass of wine, I might tell you 50 other things to do in Dublin, so you won't be bored.
Any other questions? Again, we'll be sending out a survey immediately. Well, I don't know about immediately, but shortly after we end this presentation. We'll also have a link to this Zoom presentation, so you can share it with friends and colleagues. And even after the survey, if you think of questions later, you are welcome to send an email to me or to Ryan or give us a call. We're happy to help. I know it's a lot of information in a short period of time. This trip is really designed to also be a type of bonding opportunity, a type of opportunity to build connections and relationships within the cohort that might be going. Nothing builds friendships and potential future business relationships like traveling together. So that's another bonus from this opportunity, as well as a very affordable and safe way to do some international travel. Ryan, do we have any other questions coming in?
I don't have any other questions coming in. One other point of note I would make is this is intended to be an economic development trip, and we did design this with the idea that folks can bring a +1, which is why we developed the tourism opportunities. However, people who are only interested in the tourism elements are welcome to come. You don't need to have someone who is participating in the business elements if you would like a coordinated trip to Ireland.
Thank you, Ryan. Very good point. Yes, there is an opportunity to come just for the tourism standpoint and kind of right on the coattails of those of us who'll be traveling for business. Wonderful. Well, if there are no additional questions, thank you, Jake, behind the scenes for taking care of all the technology. Thank you, Liz and Ryan, for the presentation today. On behalf of Greater Mankato Growth, we are very excited about this opportunity. We hope that you'll consider joining us, and we look forward to your responses to the survey. I hope to see you this evening. We will be having business after hours from 4 to 6 at MCI Carpet 1 Floor and Home, and hope that some of you will be able to join us then. Thank you, folks, and have a great day.
Thank you.